Title 4: Understanding Karma: How Your Actions Shape Your Destiny. My name is Racha. I'm 80 years old, and I want to begin with something that most people misunderstand so completely that the misunderstanding itself becomes a quiet source of ongoing suffering. Karma is not punishment. It is not reward either, not in the simplistic sense that many people carry. It is not the universe keeping a ledger, waiting for the right moment to balance the accounts. It is not the promise that good people always receive good things, or that suffering people must have done something to deserve it. I believed versions of all of those ideas at different points in my life, and every version eventually broke down under the weight of honest experience. What karma actually is, at its most useful and most honest, is something much more immediate and much more available. It is the living truth that what you do, how you habitually think, and how you consistently respond to the conditions of your life shapes the person you are continuously becoming. And the person you are continuously becoming determines the quality of the life you are actually living. Maybe the word karma has become so familiar to you that it has lost its precision. Maybe you have used it casually, the way people say, "That is karma," when something goes wrong for someone who behaved badly. Maybe you carry a quiet unease about it, a sense that somewhere a cosmic account is being kept, and that eventually you will have to settle what is owed. If any of that is true, stay with me, because what I want to share is not a philosophical debate about what karma means. It is a practical understanding that changed the way I inhabited my own life, and that I believe can change something real in yours. I was born in a small village in northern Thailand. The word karma was spoken often in my childhood, but rarely examined carefully. It was used mostly to explain misfortune and to comfort those who had suffered unjustly. This happened because of karma. Their suffering is the fruit of past actions. In one sense, there is truth in that, but the way it was used made karma into something largely outside your present control. Something coming from a hidden past, something arriving from elsewhere. That understanding made me passive in ways I did not recognize for a long time. If karma was already written by what I had done before, then the weight of the present moment felt lighter than it actually was. Why examine every small choice with great care if the larger outcomes were already in motion? The correction to this understanding came slowly. It came through practice, through sitting with my own mind long enough to watch how one thought leads to another, how one habitual response deepens its own groove in my character, how one choice made from fear tends to make the next fearful choice feel more natural, how one choice made from clarity tends to make the next clear choice more accessible. I began to see karma not as something arriving from outside, but as something I was continuously creating inside, not through grand gestures, through the ordinary accumulation of small choices made every day with or without awareness. And here's what I didn't understand then. Karma is not primarily about dramatic acts. Most people imagine karma in terms of large things, the great wrong that will eventually be punished, the great sacrifice that will eventually be rewarded. But the karma that most shapes a life is made of small things. The decision to respond to this moment of frustration with patience or with reactivity. The choice to speak honestly in this conversation or to say the convenient thing. The habit of meeting your own difficulty with cruelty or with something gentler. The daily practice of seeing other people as they are, or as your fear and your need require them to be. These small things, repeated thousands of times, become the person you are. And the person you are is the karma you are living. There is a teaching from the Dhammapada that I return to many times over the decades. The mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind, created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a corrupt mind, suffering follows, as the wheel follows the hoof of an ox. If one speaks or acts with a serene mind, happiness follows, as a shadow that never departs. For years I understood this intellectually. It took much longer to live it. What it is actually pointing toward is not simply that you should have good thoughts. It is that the quality of mind you are habitually cultivating determines the quality of experience you habitually inhabit, not as punishment or reward delivered from outside, as the natural consequence of what you are practicing inside. You know what surprised me most? When I began to take this seriously as a daily practice, rather than as a concept I believed, the first changes I noticed were not external at all. They were textural. The same ordinary situations began to feel differently, depending on the quality of mind I brought to them. The same difficult conversation felt completely different when I arrived at it from a mind that had been practicing honesty versus one that had spent the morning in self-justification. The same moment of frustration resolved or deepened, depending entirely on the inner habit I applied to it. Karma, in this sense, was not something happening to me from outside. It was something I was actively producing inside, moment by moment, through the quality of what I practiced. This is what most people miss when they think about karma. They look for it in the large outcomes, in whether the good prosper and the wicked suffer, in whether prayers are answered or ignored, in the external shape of a life. But the most immediate and the most available experience of karma is in the texture of daily inner life, in how you feel when you wake up, in the quality of attention you bring to your work, in how you experience the people you love, in whether your ordinary day feels like something you are genuinely inside of, or something that is simply happening to you. All of that is shaped continuously by what you are practicing now, not by something ancient and fixed beyond your reach, by something present and alive and genuinely responsive to how you choose to meet it. Let me make this more concrete. Every time you react to difficulty with the same old pattern, you are practicing that pattern toward greater depth. You are making it more automatic, more certain to appear again in similar circumstances. Every time you speak from impatience, you are practicing impatience into greater ease. Every time you treat your own pain with contempt, you are practicing contempt toward your own inner life as a habitual response. This is karma, not as cosmic accounting, but as the very natural process of how character forms. And it works in both directions with equal fidelity. Every time you pause before reacting and bring even a small amount of clarity to a difficult moment, you are practicing that pause. Every time you speak more honestly than is comfortable, you are practicing honesty toward greater ease. Every time you respond to your own difficulty with something more like understanding, you are practicing a different kind of inner environment. The law does not favor either direction. It simply reinforces what is practiced. This understanding gave me something I had not had before. Not comfort exactly, agency. The sense that I was not simply at the mercy of what had already been determined. That the present moment mattered in a very real and very immediate way. That what I was choosing to practice right now was genuinely shaping what would be more natural, more available, more automatic in the moments that followed. That freedom, imperfect as it is what karma at its most honest and most useful actually offers. There is something else about karma that I need to say clearly. It does not operate on a timeline that human intelligence can easily track. You cannot always trace the connection between a specific action and its specific consequence. Sometimes effects appear quickly. Sometimes they take years. Sometimes they manifest in ways that bear no obvious resemblance to the cause. The person who has spent a decade practicing resentment may not experience one dramatic punishment. They may simply find, gradually and increasingly, that the world feels hostile, and that intimacy is difficult, and that a general quality of bitterness has slowly closed off entire dimensions of what life could offer. The person who has practiced genuine generosity may not receive one spectacular return. They may simply find, over time, that trust accumulates in their relationships, and that a certain quality of openness makes their ordinary days progressively richer. What most people don't realize is that the most important karmic consequences are the internal ones. They are changes in the quality of the person you are, the kind of experience you are capable of having, the depth of connection you can sustain, the degree to which your own inner life feels like a place you can actually inhabit. Someone who has spent decades practicing suspicion may achieve considerable success by external measures and still live in a world that feels fundamentally unsafe. Someone who has practiced genuine presence may face significant external difficulty and still inhabit a life that feels, in its texture, deeply worth living. There is also something I had to learn about karma in relation to the actions of other people. What others do creates consequences in their own lives that are not mine to manage or to judge. What I am responsible for is my response to what they do, and my response is itself a karmic action with its own consequences. When someone acts badly toward me, and I respond with retaliation, I am practicing retaliation into greater ease in myself. When someone acts badly toward me, and I respond with clarity and appropriate firmness without adding cruelty, I am practicing something genuinely different. This is not passivity, it is precision. It is understanding that how I respond matters not only for the immediate situation, but for the character I am building through every response I make. At 80 years old, I can tell you that karma understood this way is not a burden, and it is not a comfort in the sentimental sense. It is something more useful than either of those things. It is an invitation to take the present moment seriously, not because great consequences hang on every individual action in a dramatic way, but because the accumulation of how you are in the ordinary moments of your life is genuinely, meaningfully, irreversibly shaping who you become. And who you become is the karma you will live. If these words are landing somewhere real in you today, this might be the right moment to ask yourself honestly what quality of being you have been most consistently practicing. Not to judge what you find, to understand it, because what is understood can be changed. And that change, beginning right here in the quality of how you meet this moment, is where a different kind of future actually starts. Tell me in the comments what aspect of karma you have found most difficult to understand or live by. And if this message gave you something useful, stay close to this space, because this kind of understanding, returned to honestly and repeatedly, changes something slowly and deeply and permanently.